Hey guys, Chris here with Cohesive Friendship Unit. Sorry this review took a little bit longer to come out than I'd previously thought. I got the game on launch day and really wanted to make sure I could fully understand the ins and outs of this port, so I've been playing it quite a bit and I'm finally comfortable to give my full opinion. We have a lot of content on Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen as a game, so you'll be seeing cards up above if you want to learn about that. I'm going to spend about 1 or 2 minutes discussing the game in this review. And the rest is going to be largely focused on the Switch port and ultimately how it ranks compared to the other versions of the game. As usual, we are putting a Steam code in the description. This week's is Acceleration of SUGURI 2, and the reason that Steam code is in the description is because of you guys providing support via subscriptions, so keep those subs up. We'll keep the Steam codes coming. We are super appreciative of that. And without further ado, guys, welcome to the Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen for Nintendo Switch review. So this video is going to be largely broken up into 3 parts. One is going to be discussing the game as a whole, which we're going to start with, followed by the performance on the Nintendo Switch, followed by any bugs that I encountered and the severity of which the bugs are, and then we're going to wrap everything up in a conclusion. So right off the bat, Dragons Dogma is a action RPG developed by Capcom from the makers of Devil May Cry, where you are basically killed and come back to life by a dragon, and the ultimate goal is to defeat the dragon. At its best, this is a super unique concept with an extremely deep endgame. It's the ultimate mashup of genres, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. A truly challenging dungeon crawler that I think was missed last gen. At its worst, it's an open world, largely empty of quests, and the side quests that you get are mostly uninteresting. The core of the game is really dungeon crawling, combat, etc. So games that it's kind of like, and games that it has elements of, like I said, it's a mashup. I feel like games like Dragon Hunter, where you kill, loot, repeat, learn about monsters, etc. This game has a strong element of that. If you like Final Fantasy with the jobs, there are 9 vocations in this game that you can choose from and change pretty much at will. If you like games like Shadow of the Colossus, where you roam a reasonably sized world and you can crawl on your enemies to take them out, that is in here as well. And it's really kind of more of a diluted form of all of these. So if these games aren't immediately for you, like a lot of these aren't for me, I don't particularly love a lot of things about Final Fantasy or Dragon Hunter. This is just easy enough version of this that it's really easy to jump into, really easy to understand, and really easy to enjoy the aspects of each of these games that makes it great. Also, the story is just ridiculous in a fun, good way. So let's talk about the performance in the game itself. This is awesome. Capcom has a bad history with Switch carts and the Switch tax and everything. This seems like one of their better efforts. Everything is on the cart. There's no download required. And there seems to be no Switch tax. This game came out new at $30, which I think is very reasonable for a new physical game. Usually physical games don't launch at less than $40. And again, everything is on the cart. So frame rate and resolution. I'm going to start with frame rate. Guys, this game is never known for having a particularly good frame rate on every version, maybe sans the PC. There are frame rate issues, and the Switch version's no exception to that. It tries to run at 30 frames per second, and it's largely acceptable. It's much better than the original release on Xbox 360 and PC. I would say the frame rate is a non-issue. It's very playable, but it does have frame rate drops. If you are super sensitive to frame rate drops, it might bother you, but I personally didn't care. Then again, I am fairly immune to frame rate drops. They don't bother me as much as most people. I prefer resolution over frame rate. Speaking of resolution, I am extremely happy with the resolution. As far as I can tell, it's 1080p docked and 720p handheld. And I have literally no complaints about resolution, and I am a resolution stickler. I have been particularly disappointed in Switch releases handheld modes, in particular Crash Bandicoot, the handheld. The resolution's fine. A lot of people are okay with it. It's not for me. Doom was very disappointed in the resolution. Even Mario Odyssey, there's a Digital Foundry video where they explain like how the resolution works in handheld, and it bothers me. Dragons Dogma, not the case. So super happy to report that. And now there's that one other performance thing that we need to talk about, and this is honestly the Achilles heel of this port in general. It's pop-in. And guys, I want to do a few things. I'm gonna show you one section happening on the Switch. I'm going to show you one section happening with the pop-in setting set to low on PC, and I'm going to show you a third version of the exact same scene where the draw distance is set to max, so you can kind of see the gamut of things.
Goblin! This road will have us to the encampment ere much longer. Should the enemy prove too powerful, there is no shame in fleeing. You will find ore, plants, and other materials at harvest points. This road will have us to the encampment ere much longer.
Peddlers, guardsmen, and other folk. The roads are safer than the brush, but still, we best stay wary. Endeavor to be ever calm in battle. The roads are safer than the brush, but still, we best stay wary. Endeavor to be ever calm in battle. Bide your time, then strike. 'Tis safest on the roads.
And at the end of the day, you can pretty much see that the Switch looks even lower than the PC on low. And it's definitely noticeable, especially when you're running around in cities. People pop in seconds away from you. And this is kind of, see, at first it bothered me, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's not as bad as people think. This mostly happens when you're sprinting during the day, outside or in a crowded setting, at very light, which means you're running as fast as possible. And this is not very, I mean, it's often in the game, but this is, again, at its worst. A lot of the times, you're playing at night, where the draw distance is very limited, it's just very dark. You're in a dungeon, where it also doesn't matter. Or you're encumbered, like you're not very light, you're sprinting slower than you could possibly be sprinting. And that's actually I would say at least half of the time you're playing the game is in one of these varied settings. And the last thing I would tack on is this is even less noticeable in handheld mode because it's a smaller screen, the draw distance doesn't matter as much, you can't see the details well anyway. But pop-in is definitely there, and you can definitely see the comparison on the PC version versus the Switch version. Personally, I got over it, and it seldom bothers me now, but just take that as it will. So now I want to talk about any observed bugs that I found, and I basically found 3 bugs, all very, very minor, and really didn't bother me at all. at the end of the day. The first one is the music bug. The battle theme can be heard looping like outside. I don't know the exact conditions because it's not 100% of the time, but if you trigger the battle sequence, you will hear the battle sequence just loop indefinitely on occasion. And the way to fix that bug is to basically trigger another track. So go into a town, go to sleep, do anything, fast travel, and that'll fix the bug. So very, very minor. The next issue I found, and this I don't even know if it's really a bug or just a performance thing or what, but the Golem sub boss actually his animations have always been weird to me, and I've never thought that they were right in any version of the game, but in this version in particular they seem even worse, where they're like jarring and juddering, and you're going to be seeing that on the screen right now. And the last bug I found was just a very, very minor, I couldn't really reproduce it, dialogue bug. But again, I don't even have this recorded because I couldn't reproduce it. So really, this is a very solid port, and it behaves and performs much better than its original release, which is great from resolution, bugs, frame rate, everything. It's much better than its original release. And that kind of brings us to the conclusion of Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen for the Nintendo Switch. Would I recommend this version? This is the third version I've bought, so I've seen it quite a bit in different various forms. I would say this version is the version to buy for a number of reasons. One, $30, it is, to me, very reasonable, even though you could probably get it cheaper on like the Xbox 360 for sure. $30 is very reasonable. You're not going to get the best draw distance, but you are going to get the best resolution the Switch can put out. So I guess if you want to play a last-gen game at 4K on PC, you could, or you could get the Switch version and play it at a crisp 1080p, which is a sweet spot for this visual textured game. And yeah, there's the draw and distance issue, but again, you get the portability, and I think for $30 you're getting a version with great resolution, very playable frame rate, and the only thing you can complain about is draw distance, which is very circumstantial to playing on a big TV outside during the day, sprinting as fast as you possibly can. I think this version is definitely worth it, definitely worth $30. And if you're wondering if you already have Dragons Dogma and you want a portable version of it, I think this is a great port. And that's all for this review, guys. As far as Dragons Dogma content goes, if you guys have suggestions, I'll definitely listen. The next thing I have for Dragons Dogma is a pawn review. There's a pawn review video, there's going to be a card for that, and I'm basically going to go through all the pawns that people put that I can get to on the YouTube channel, so you guys can see your pawns in a video, and I'll talk about them. But that is it for me, guys. Again, we appreciate your subs. We appreciate everything that you guys have enjoyed. You guys have loved the Dragons Dogma content, and we're very happy about that. So thank you again. That's all for me. I'll catch you guys next time.